First thing, I had to pull up here and stand on top of the pile and, you know, basically cry because, you know, it's a lot of hard work.
He says rebuilding Cortez Bait and Seafood could cost nearly $500,000. The problem is his insurance won't even cover half of that. A higher policy, he says, just wasn't in the budget.
You never really think ahead of something like this going to happen. You're already paying a mortgage payment, and you're struggling a little to begin with. So
would that have just been too expensive?
Well,
at that
probably
point?
would have just been too expensive. Yeah.
Every summer and fall, low pressure disturbances form in the Atlantic or the Pacific. As they get stronger, they draw in warm, moist air, which condenses and forms thunderstorms. Eventually, these disturbances begin to spin, and bands of thunderstorms form. The winds begin to flow faster and faster. A hurricane is born. And that's where the subject of this video comes in: climate change. Let's not kid ourselves. All evidence points to anthropogenic climate change occurring and getting worse by the year. And a big question on many people's minds is, are storms getting worse? First, let's define climate change. What is it exactly? Climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. More specifically, it describes a change in the average conditions, such as temperature and rainfall, in a region over a long period of time. Whenever we talk about climate change, we are typically referring to global warming, which, yes, is occurring. In 2021, the IPCC released their 6th assessment report, which found that heat-trapping gases, or greenhouse gases, have warmed the planet by nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit. The global average temperature is expected to reach or exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius, or about 3 degrees Fahrenheit, within the next few decades. In addition to that, the global average sea level has risen by 8 or 9 inches since 1880. Climate change is occurring. Now, of course, again, the question is it making our storms stronger? And I believe we have the answer. In a May 2020 study released by James Cawson, Kenneth Knapp, Timothy Olander, and Christopher Felden, found that, yes, tropical cyclones are indeed getting stronger. You see, we measure hurricane strength with the Saffir-Simpson scale, ranging from the low end, Category 1, to the high end, the strongest of storms, Category 5. This study found, with statistically significant confidence, that since 1979, there has been a noticeable increase in major hurricanes, aka Category 3 hurricanes and up. And furthermore, the number of major hurricanes is expected to continue to increase by 8% per decade. Tom Knutson, a senior scientist at NOAA's Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Laboratory, found that models indicate rainfall rates from hurricanes are expected to continue to increase by the year 2100. And in a 2022 study of the 2020 North Atlantic hurricane season, a notably intense and active hurricane season, researchers have found that increases in global average surface temperature had led to sea surface temperature increases by 0.4 and 0.9 degrees Celsius. And all of these factors combined led to increases in extreme 3-hourly storm rainfall rates and extreme 3-day accumulated rainfall amounts by 10 and 5% respectively. So storms are indeed getting stronger. But what does that mean for the coasts of America? Who is affected the most by climate change? Let's take a look. More than 60.2 million people live along the Gulf Coast and Eastern Coast, which is where hurricanes tend to strike the most. In Texas, 7 million live along the Gulf Coast, and more than 19% make under $25,000 a year. In Florida, 15 million people live in coastal portions of the state. On September 28th, Hurricane Ian made landfall in southwestern Florida. The damage that it left behind rounded out to about $50 billion, making it the 15th billion-dollar disaster in the United States. In an article written by Politico, they detailed the financial ruin that many homeowners faced in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. 1.8 million households in the 9 counties declared by President Joe Biden to be disaster areas, and only 29% of those households have federal flood insurance. 1.3 million households at ground zero were ruined. In Hardee County, only 100 households have federal flood insurance out of 8,000 households in the county. That is a 1.3% coverage rate. Many Americans are left without insurance. 3.5 million Americans don't have home insurance. And many of those Americans live along our coasts. As sea levels begin to rise, 8 to 9 inches since 1880, by the way, this means millions of Americans are under incredible danger of being hit by even stronger storms and catastrophic storm surge. Billions of dollars worth of damages are produced by strong storms every year, and they are still getting worse. Storm surge is the leading cause of damage in hurricanes other than the wind. Rising sea level means more water goes inland during these storms. That is the storm surge element of these hurricanes. A good example of this was Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian sent tons of water inland, and at Fort Myers Beach, they recorded over 13 feet of storm surge. Climate change is going to continue to cause sea levels to rise. And as these sea levels rise, so will the storm surge amounts. Stronger storms create more storm surge, and if we have more intense storms every year, these billion-dollar disasters are going to keep happening. We have to do something about it. And we have the ability. We just need to make a change.